Delhi, 1963. Thou shalt not murder. Torah, Hebrew original. So, on being discharged from the Academy Hospital, I completed the course, worked for 3 weeks between finals and postings. We caught the train from Poon and were changing trains to go on to Pokhara. Good. Should be another 3 leisurely days with a book and a bottle. What could possibly go wrong after the SOORM incident and court-martial? One hopes nothing, but as they say, hope for the best and prepare for the worst. I'd got my head around the fact that the fun and games were going to start in 3 days. Wrong again. As I alighted from the train at Delhi with another 3 freshly minted second lieutenants, we were surprised to see a half-track in what would be described now as the car park. 9 Gurkhas, full pack and rifle, standing at ease beside it, and a captain, clearly freshly out from England with his distinct lack of tan and trim moustache. He approaches us and says, "Good news is that your luggage goes in the half-track. Better news is that your altitude training starts now. The boss sent me as a warm-up. The men have your packs and machine guns and radios. We march out in 5 minutes. Change here." Thus began 40 miles a day as prep to get to Pokhara. Good thing too, because up to now my only fear was a broken bone on the obstacle course or shin splints. Shin splints were bad, but the breathlessness under an 80-pound pack in the foothills of the Himalayas was indeed a challenge, even after 18 months of square bashing, rugby and route marching. This was in a league beyond current reliable experience or knowledge. 2 weeks later, upon arrival, hill training, under packs. 8 hours of road work, 2 hours of off-road work for the first 2 weeks, then swap, 2 hours of road work and 8 hours of off-road work, plus rotating shifts as duty officer. Sleep is a weapon, but it's also for a coffin, and at this rate, that could be sooner than otherwise ordered. So with 4 weeks of altitude training completed, the Colonel sees fit to introduce himself. The interview is brief and to the point, and my next 6 months are spent in a language school. Hell, all I wanted to do was get paid to carry a rifle and sort stuff out, and all I ever seem to do is train. But this time it's Tibetan and Mandarin. Well, I am a Sikh, and who knows what you can pick up in the ionosphere. Maybe there's a bigger game to play than I had planned. Finally, 8 months after the academy, I get to have a beer in the mess, and then while off duty I get summoned. Major Bruce is doing a reconnaissance stunt and needs a SIG. Pack 0400 start. And head of the Q store for the new uniform? The new uniform. I'd expected maybe an extra pair of socks and the new radio. Think again, sunshine. This stunt was indeed a recce. 5-man squad. 3 of the men were yaks. No uniforms, no names, no pack drill. Uniforms were Tibetan-style civilian clothes. Just exactly what the hell is going on here? Can't ask. They won't tell me either way. My brief isn't held until we're 8 miles out of town. I have only verbal orders and a shiny new 3-part SLR broken down. Heavy barrel, but with a scope. Strange mix for an L2N1. The Major and I are to wander over to Tibet and send back stuff. Yep, that was his words, quote-unquote stuff, that might or might not be going on. Seemingly, GCHQ needs stuff, so they can advise the Foreign Secretary. And we are to go and get stuff. Part of getting stuff, seemingly, is to do it in a way where no one else knows that, 1, we are there, and 2, that stuff is getting got. Now, this sounds like fun. Masquerading as Tibetan yak masters, only I don't even know which end of the yak to feed and which end not to stand behind. Well, it's the least likely thing I'd get to lead, but as unusual a problem to get sorted. Adapt and thrive. So, we walk along the track past the turn-off to Everest Base Camp and then just keep walking into Tibet. 'Twas cold overnight, but I had acclimatized from the academy to the highest of the highlands. The real issue was keeping hydrated when you were cold. Lhasa. And the trouble was, what were we there to discover? We rented a room from a widow, paid just the right amount to keep her from asking questions, while at the same time keep us from getting evicted. The place was a mud hut, unlockable front doors, but it had a stable for our 3 yaks out the back, and that was key. We'd been here a month, just integrating and getting to know the lie of the land and who's who, and if there had been any recent changes. Well, nothing much, except that nothing. Eye to eye in the marketplace revealed Zip. I was also effectively on a 25-hour per day listening duty. I'd assembled the HF box and the pedal-powered battery charger. We could tap out to Puchera or the Hague, HQ for that matter, or wherever we really needed to send. Once a week we checked the skyline for aerials that might indicate radio directional finding device. Old World War II technology, but effectively triangulating radio signals, both transmitting and receiving. So if the enemy suspected we were there, this was one way they could find us. So far, we were dark, but we were in the dark. No one, as far as we could tell, knew we were there, and it seemed we were entirely alone. Let's face it, this is Lhasa, not New York. Then in the second month I tripped over a signal. There was a faint signal in Urdu, and then in Mandarin, and then Morse, and then Russian, and then back to Urdu, followed by woodpecker. Be damned, woodpecker. The Ruskies are back at that old game.